flames, I would say, would be 200 or 300 feet high and maybe 100 feet across this way here. It was so intense that I could hardly make it out to my pasture.
The California firestorm took another life today, this time a firefighter who died battling the fire burning in San Diego County. That means now at least 20 people are dead. As you can see in these pictures, the fires are burning out of control tonight still. Good evening and thanks for joining us.
I'm Gary Waddell. We're in Julian, California, which is northeast of San Diego, and this is where the big battle has been today to try to save this little town. So far it's been very successful. We hope it is. One of the reasons is the winds have changed. They are now coming out of the west and going to the east. In fact, as day ended today and the sun set, we had clear blue skies and a pretty sunset. That's something that I don't think you guys had in Las Vegas, did you, Paula?
No, the smoke from those fires has moved into our valley. The haze has covered southern Nevada. You can't see the mountains or any of the buildings on the Strip. Some schools have canceled recess, and doctors are worried about the effects on some people's health.
We have live team coverage of the fires and its effect on the valley. Lisa Johnson will update us on air quality. Michael Geezer will show us if insurance rates might go up.
We'll have the latest from here in Julian in a little while, but first we want to go to Drew Levinson. He is in San Bernardino.
The winds continue to kick up here in Southern California, causing havoc for the firefighters. And a sad note tonight, one firefighter has now been killed in these fires. It was a major setback in the battle against the California wildfires. One firefighter was killed, 2 others injured while trying to hold back the cedar blaze in San Diego County. That fire has already destroyed hundreds of homes. So far, promising cool winds from the Pacific are not bringing much relief, and they could simply end up putting more homes in danger. But the weather shift should allow those fighting the fire from the air to launch a more accurate attack. On the ground, firefighters remain on the defensive. More than 11,000 men and women battle nearly a dozen major fires that have already consumed 500,000 acres of Southern California. The fires are too big, the terrain too rugged, and the winds still too fierce for the firefighters to make much progress.
It will continue to move until we either get a weather break, the less winds, and we can get a handle on it, get some air support and the ground crews on it.
Behind the flames, a smoldering graveyard of trees. Ahead of them, exhausted crews press ahead to keep the inferno from gaining.
Our priorities in fighting these fires are the threat to life. That's the priority. Where there is a threat to life, that's where we try to put all of the additional resources that are coming in to play.
And while residents from one side of the San Bernardino Mountains evacuate, those from the other side have come back to see what, if anything, remains of their homes. And even more severe tomorrow, gusts up to 50 miles an hour. That's the fuel these firefighters don't want. Live in San Bernardino County, California, I'm Drew Levinson. Now back to you.
Drew is about where I was yesterday. Drew, thank you for joining us this afternoon. It's good to hear from you. We've moved up into the mountains, and it is downright cold up here. Has there been that much of a shift in the weather down there where you are?
As a matter of fact, Gary, I was just thinking about that a couple of minutes ago. It is very, very cold here, much different than it was when I saw you last night. And that obviously is good for the firefighters as trying to battle the blazes, but at the same time, it makes it extremely uncomfortable trying to battle those blazes as well. And these winds, Gary, have really kicked up since you were here yesterday as well.
We have the same thing going on down here, and they're kind of gusting and running around in different directions, swirling around, making it tough on firefighters. Can you still see the glow in the sky up there from the fires burning up around Big Bear?
Periodically, you do see the glow. Let me take a quick look behind me right now. I'm going to let my photographer take a shot of this. This is going to be difficult to see, but it does show you in the mountain behind me that there are still these little fires, and they continue to flare up and get really big. But the glow you saw last night, we have not seen yet tonight, but that doesn't mean it won't happen, because with the way these winds are shifting, Gary, anything is likely to happen, as you well know.
Boy, let's hope it doesn't flare up there. Drew Levinson in Santa Bernardino, thank you very much for being with us. Down here, we're a far cry because we're not seeing any glow on the horizon, which is good because when we arrived here late this morning, we saw open fires burning on the ridges right around us, a quarter of a mile or so away. But part of the reason we're not seeing that tonight is because of an aerial assault and an attack by an awful lot of firefighters. Well, some of the firefighters have been out in the forest battling this fire. Others have been here in the town of Julian, ready to save this small town if it becomes necessary.
It's not too tough. This is something we train for all the time, so you hate to see the damage to the property, but this is what we train for. So we like coming out here to have an opportunity to do this.
This town has been evacuated. Businesses are closed, and most of the residents are gone, except for a few, like Dave Gentry and his son Mitchell. They spent the night in an open field south of town. Their home's about a mile further south, right where this fire went through. What do you know about your house?
Nothing. Been here since yesterday. I'm trying to scam rides in there to see what's going on. To have somebody come back. All the firefighters are nobody local, and they're very helpful, but they don't know the roads, and they couldn't tell me.
Some people are going to come back tomorrow to find their homes relatively unscathed. Others are going to come back and find something like this. V. Lumpkin is one of those people. She writes for the local newspaper and has lived here for the past 28 years. She spent last night sleeping in her car. She still doesn't know if she has a house to go home to. Yeah, how is your house?
Now, I have no idea. I don't know what I'm going to find when I get home.
Well, we hope she finds her house like we saw a lot of others, and that is standing, even though the earth completely around them is scorched. The firefighters have made valiant stands here to protect life and property. Unfortunately, one firefighter died in that effort, not very far from here today. There's another town that is standing thanks to firefighters, and Atlee Erlingson was there a little earlier today. Atlee.
Gary, good evening. As you well know, fire crews are spending much of their energy trying to defend this town of Julian tonight, which we are both in. But earlier, they had to fight other battles along the way to Julian. We were in Santa Isabel earlier today as fire crews were just then digging down their heels and making a stand against the fire to defend a small community of about 500 people.
We're doing the best we can.
There seemed to be some problems with that package, but that actual town of Santa Isabel fire crews did make their stand, and they were able to save that town. The hope tonight is that fire crews will be able to do here in Julian what they did earlier today in Santa Isabel. But as you can see by this tree behind me, the wind is very, very fierce out here, so it will be certainly a challenge if the fire does end up coming this way. Reporting live in the town of Julian, California, I'm Atlee Erlingson. Gary, we'll send it back to you.
Atlee, we've got a kind of a personal stake in whether or not this town gets saved. We're up here with satellite trucks and cars and lots of equipment sort of waiting at the top of this hill. Did you have any, we saw a lot of flames and everything when we came up today. Did you have any trepidations when you drove up the hill today?
Gary, I heard you talking to some other people about the trepidations that you had, and I think we have the exact same thing. It's very difficult really to describe how much destruction and how much land out here has been burned unless you actually drive through it. We drove on a small road, I think a different road than you took, Gary, all the way out here to Julian, and the entire area was completely burned. You saw sporadic homes every now and then that were saved, and all you did was drop your jaw impressed with the fire crews that they were actually be able to save those homes. And then when we come up here to Julian and we see fire burning on our left, and earlier we saw it burning on our right, and we knew that we're at the top of the mountain and the fire's coming our way, certainly concerned, absolutely, and I think all of the other media up here were as well. But now that we see that the smoke is on the other side of this ridge and the wind is blowing in the opposite direction, I think there's some hope tonight that the fire may not make it here to this specific area.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people, at least a lot of firefighters here in Julian, no residents because there are none left, but a lot of firefighters who are breathing a little easier tonight from seeing all of this. Dave and Paula, we'll toss it back to you. That's what we know from here in Julian, where the worst fire is burning in Southern California.
Great job, Gary.
Yep.
Thank you, and we'll see you later in this hour.
Well, Nevada has some people and equipment there to help battle the fires. The Director of Emergency Services in California says they are grateful for that help.
Well, of course, our governor talked to your governor, and he agreed right away to send whatever we requested. We've requested National Guard helicopters, and we've also requested engine companies.
Right now, there are 2 strike teams of firefighters from Southern Nevada in Southern California. And the entire valley here is covered in smoke, but the breathing problems are even worse closer to the California-Nevada border. And that's why the Clark County Fire Department has sent an additional rescue crew to Primm. By midday today, the fire station in Jean had responded to 5 respiratory distress calls there. 3 of those patients were asthmatic and needed oxygen, but there's no fire station in Primm, so 2 paramedics from the Spring Valley Fire Station are setting up at Buffalo Bill's Hotel to assist in emergencies.
Out here this morning, we had several respiratory problems. Within about 20 minutes, they had about 5 respiratory distress calls. And with the single unit that we have out here from Jean, just wasn't enough resource.
Because they are mobile, the 2 paramedics can respond to any calls in that area. They'll be stationed there until they're no longer needed.
Doctors' offices felt the brunt of breathing problems today caused by the thick smoke in the air. The haze is causing everything from health complaints to flight delays. We continue our live team coverage with Lisa Johnson at McCarran Airport. Lisa.
Paula, many flights here at McCarran are being delayed tonight because of the poor visibility at ground level for landings and takeoffs. And speaking of visibility, take a look at the skyline. The normally bright lights of the casino dull in the smoky haze tonight. Especially look at the light that extends out of the top of the Luxor. It normally extends for miles. Tonight it disappears into the darkened skyline. And our bright lights in the camera looking up, it almost looks like it's snowing. Ash is falling down in front of us. Standing out here for just a few minutes, your eyes fill up with tears, your throat becomes scratchy, you feel like you're going to cough. It's only going to get worse before it gets better. As the sun rose over the valley, the smoky haze obscured views from Sunrise Mountain. But air quality officials who've been monitoring sites continuously say so far only a few sites show any elevated levels of particulate matter.
It's much hazier today than it was yesterday, but the tinier particles that we measure as a health concern are not there yet.
While air quality technicians say the air is still safe, some doctors disagree.
And I'm wondering if it has something to do with all the forest fires.
Dr. Victor Cohen saw many patients suffering with breathing problems. The allergist says the mixture of smoke and pollen is dangerous for those with respiratory problems and even normally healthy people.
These particulate matters get deep in your lungs and cause inflammation. So it's going to affect everybody, and it's certainly going to affect people with underlying respiratory tract conditions.
The elderly and children are especially at risk. That's why many schools, like here at Roger Gehring Elementary, kept students indoors. It's 12 noon. Usually this playground is filled with children on their lunchtime recess, but as you can see, it's empty. The principal says the playground will remain empty until the skies are clear again.
The air is very bad outside. There's particles of smoke. It's very windy, and it's a good day to stay inside.
While the children stay off the playground, some planes are grounded. Many flights at McCarran have been delayed or canceled due to the poor visibility for takeoff and landing conditions. And while pilots do not rely on sight for flying, they do for takeoffs and landing. That's why airport officials are taking the precaution tonight of normally they space out the airplanes 3 miles apart. Well, now they're spacing them out 10 to 12 miles apart to avoid any problems. And talking about air quality, let's put it in perspective. I spoke to one county health official who said, as bad as it is out here over the next 3 or 4 days, breathing this in still will not be as damaging to our lungs as if we smoked a pack of cigarettes a day over the next 3 or 4 days. Reporting live from McCarran Airport, Lisa Johnson, Channel 8 Eyewitness News.
Thanks, Lisa. A phone bank is open for residents to call if you have questions or concerns about the smoke in the air. Just call 455-0001. Your calls will be transferred to air quality specialists. Here are people answering the phones. The phones will be open from 8 until 8 tonight, and then will reopen again tomorrow during business hours 8 to 5. And once again, that hotline number, 455-0001. The drastic reduction in air quality has prompted many local residents to purchase face masks. A manager with a local Home Depot says respiratory masks have been a popular item today. They can offer some protection under these smoky conditions, but not to every chemical in the smoke. The masks range in price from $2 to $5.
The wind continues to play a part in all the smoke-filled skies here for us.
Kevin Jennison joins us now with a look at conditions, and you said the particulate matter has showed up by this time.
Yeah, exactly. During the course of the afternoon, every monitoring station reported air quality in the unhealthful category. Check out our view from the camera on top of the Stratosphere Tower, and the valley, the Strip especially, has that glow around it like it does when we have low clouds and rain. But now we have clouds and ash and haze, and it's just a mess out there. Real-time neighborhood weather shows the wind blowing from the southwest, 20 miles per hour near College and 95, 18 and 20 bouncing around South Las Vegas Boulevard and the St. Rose Parkway. Up in Pioche and Lincoln County, it's beginning to shift a little bit, but it's still blowing at 20 and 11 miles per hour. And near Rainbow and 95, there it goes again at 19 miles per hour. Here's the air quality, unhealthful. And remember, everybody's sensitivity is different, but for people with respiratory issues, this is particularly bad. The good news here is that we are going to see a subtle wind shift tomorrow and a major one late tomorrow night and early Friday that should move most of the smoke out of here. We'll have the details on that and your full 7-day forecast in just a few minutes, Dave and Paula.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right, Kevin, thousands of people forced from their homes in Southern California need help.
That's where Channel 8 and our Community Pride partners have stepped in. Polly Gonzalez joins us with an update. Polly.
Paula and Dave, first of all, I want to thank our viewers out there because they have been truly generous. Take a look behind me and you can see that we have a number of workers feverishly trying to put things in this truck, and this truck you see right here is nearly loaded, Pampers and snacks and different toiletries that people will be needing down in Southern California. Folks have been forced out of their homes. But then if we could pan over to the left, Scott, here at the water here, I also want to pass on a request by the Las Vegas Fire Department and the Clark County Department, as a matter of fact, from us here at Channel 8 as well, and that is no more water. We can't accept any more water. Now, if you've purchased water with the intent of bringing it on down, go ahead. We'll still take it. But the fire departments say they are overwhelmed, and thank you very much, but they will not be accepting any more water at this time. Now, as you mentioned, we here at Channel 8 are very fortunate to have a partnership with our Community Pride sponsors, but we also have community leaders who've really stepped up to the plate for this cause. Joined right here, right now, by Joanne Malone of Ronald McDonald House and Philip Bouchard of National Title, and you guys have some money for us.
Yes, we do. You know, people in the community know what Ronald McDonald House Charities is all about, and we take care of families that find themselves here seeking medical treatment for their children, but we also go out into the community to provide services for the families that need us, and we just felt, thanks to the support of our community and our sponsors and donors, that we're able to contribute what we're giving today with the personal hygiene kits and paper goods. And Philip would like to tell you about our monetary donation.
Polly, Joanne and I were talking about what the Ronald McDonald House could do to help the folks in Southern California, and then that conversation spilled over to my brother and I at National Title, and we decided that we would like to get involved as well. So we decided to do a couple things, and one is make a contribution of $5,000 to help the efforts in Southern California, and then I issued a challenge to my competitors, which I think is kind of a common thing to do, and we were able to raise a total of $18,000. I've got a check for $2,000 from United Title, $2,000 from Fidelity National Title, $2,000 from Nevada Title, $1,000 from First American, $1,000 from Ticor, and we're just real happy that we could be a part of this and come down here today to be with you.
Okay, Mr. Bouchard, and I had to let him get all of those names in because, again, people have been very generous. We thank you, and we will check back in with you, Dave and Paula, at the bottom of the hour. We'll have more stories to share.
That's great.
Polly, I got a phone call from a viewer who said we needed dog and cat food too, but that's not the case, is it?
Well,
apparently the shelters in Southern California are taking care of them, according to Melissa Cipriano.
And I imagine that's probably true. But then again, they're a little confused because, as you know, we've been showing them the stories of the animals that have been displaced. Yeah. They're so moved, and so they kind of act with their hearts. We appreciate it, but you're right. Let's pass that along as well. They really probably don't need any food at this time for the animals.
Thanks, Polly.
Okay. Thanks, Polly.
Great stuff out there.
Yeah.
Well, the fires will take a big toll on insurance companies, and that means they could also hurt your insurance rates. We'll explain.
You're watching the News Leader, Channel 8 Eyewitness News at 6, with Paula Francis, Gary Waddell, Neighborhood Weather with Kevin Jennison, and Sports with Dave McCann. Channel 8 Eyewitness News, the News Leader.
Well, this fire continues to damage property and homes in Southern California. A lot of people here are left to wonder how it'll affect their homes in Las Vegas.
Some homeowners can expect their insurance rates to go up after this disaster. 8 on Your Side consumer editor Michael Gieser is here to explain.
Paula, Dave, 2 groups of homeowners will likely watch their premiums rise due to the wildfires. What's unknown is how much rates will rise and when. Insurance rates for most homeowners in Southern Nevada should go unaffected by the Southern California wildfires. But Bob Feldman of the Nevada Insurance Council says some will see their premiums go up.
The only ones that I see that might have some problems are the people that live out in the boonies, in the woods, because after that loss in California, some of the companies may tighten up their underwriting restrictions on hazardous areas.
That means areas like Mount Charleston, or areas that have developed further away from fire stations. Another group of consumers who might find higher premiums are those whose carriers use reinsurance. Reinsurance is a way for smaller insurance companies to limit their exposure on disasters. In other words, they pay a certain amount until the second insurance company chips in. The best way to find out if your carrier uses reinsurance is to ask. While most major insurance companies reinsure themselves, some well-known companies actively use it. One mortgage lender who works with home insurance companies says sirens from fire engines aren't the sound that drives insurance rates up. It's another sound that can be heard 3,000 miles away.
Catastrophic events have a small impact on it, actually. The biggest impact is your insurance companies are huge investors. Their money's invested just like your money is invested and my money's invested. Their returns aren't as good as they used to be. Therefore, they can't accommodate the costs associated with insurance loss.
That, more than any other event, says Stevenson, causes homeowners insurance to go up. And California already has seen its share of loss. Couple of things to keep in mind. If your insurance carrier decides to drop you, a 30-day notice must be sent, allowing you to search for a new policy. If your carrier decides to raise rates, it must go before the state insurance commissioner, and they must justify the price hike. So there is a safeguard in place before any company can come along and raise its rates. Paula, Dave?
Interesting. Thanks, Michael.
Well, we've been talking about the wind, but the truth is this drought that we're in for so many years now has probably added more to this fire than just about anything.
It sure has. In California, all those trees that have been infested by the bark beetle because the drought made them vulnerable.
Left a lot of fuel for the fire.
Sure did.
It's like kindling over there. It's just absolutely amazing. And we don't see any relief, significant relief, at least in sight over the next couple of months, although there could be a few showers, light showers, late Friday night. Here's the view again from our camera on top of the Stratosphere Tower. The strip continues to glow with all the haze, the smoke, and even in some cases ash falling from the sky. The smoke came in very early. If you're an early riser, we had the blue sky, but Red Rock Canyon saw the smoke come in rather quickly during the morning hours. Same story out at Zion National Park. A gorgeous day gave way to smoke and pollution, and boom, there it goes, and the rocks were obscured there as well. Up in Lincoln County, our camera at Caliente School showing the blue sky giving way to the smoke coming on in the afternoon. Set the table for a pretty nice sunset, but I think they'd rather have the blue sky. Up in North Las Vegas near ML King and Cary, 79 degrees, the wind still blowing at 13 miles per hour. Elkhorn and Buffalo, a little reprieve from the wind right now, but it has gusted to 29. Durango and Warm Springs near Rhodes Ranch, they're blowing at 18 miles per hour, having gusted to 38. And one more stop will take us near Wigwam and the Green Valley Parkway, right now at 10 miles per hour, having gusted to 31. We did get a gust of 41 down near Las Vegas Boulevard and the St. Rose Parkway. Then there were several wind gusts to 37 miles per hour over the southern half of the valley. Mount Charleston had a gust of 43, Tonopah with a gust of 44, while Boulder City had a gust of wind of 42 miles per hour. The smoke did knock the temperature down a few degrees. The high in McCarran was 84. That after a morning low of 62. Still 10 degrees above normal, but it's considerably cooler than where we've been the last couple of days. Air quality in the unhealthful category across the entire valley for a while. Some of the highest readings were along East Craig Road and in Green Valley. but it was splitting hairs because they were higher, but everybody else was very high as well. Here's the front that is responsible for the wind coming out of the southwest. The winds will continue to blow overnight tonight. Now, here's why I have a sliver of optimism for tomorrow. As the front gets closer, the winds are actually going to intensify, but we think there might be some gyrations, and instead of coming straight out of the southwest, maybe they'll come in more from the west-southwest. That'll push more of the smoke southward. Then the front goes through late tomorrow night, and the wind, especially in the upper levels, comes out of the north. That'll chase all the smoke into Arizona, and we will be left with clearing conditions, but also much, much cooler air. 62 degrees and smoky tonight. We could see a gust or two, or even over 40 miles per hour. Tomorrow, there could be a couple of gusts of 50 miles per hour. It still will be smoky at times, but I think we'll get some waves of clearer and fresher air moving in. Highs only in the 70s, and once the wind shifts, highs only be in the 60s as we begin the weekend. Still some leftover breezes, and late Friday night with that cool air, we could have a few sprinkles with a possible flurry in the mountain as low as 4,000 feet. That's only a slight chance. That's cool. It's unusual. 3 days ago, we were at 90, and we have a whole bunch of weather action going on over the next 72 hours.
You're right. Lots of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Kevin. Okay.
Well, more acres of forest and brush burned today, and another person died. We have continuing live team coverage coming up.
Plus,
over 13,000 firefighters in all. Many of those are from neighboring states. Reporting live from Los Angeles County, Kimberly Osias. Back to you, Gary.
All right, Kimberly, very much. How are they doing on that fire? We're watching down here, and those helicopters made a big difference today. How's it going up there?
Absolutely. The helicopters made a big difference here, but also the people on the ground. We are near the Stevenson Ranch area, which is to our north, which had tremendous blazes just several hours ago, and I spoke with residents there. They said there were 4 fire people outside in their backyard per home, which is pretty staggering. I mean, to think of the sheer numbers of it, of people out here, and just absolutely amazing. They said they felt tremendously safe and that the people were really doing their jobs. Gary?
I'll tell you, we're getting the same reaction from the few people we talked to down here about the firefighters, because they certainly have made a difference down here. Kimberly Osias near Simi Valley, thank you very much for being with us, and stay cool up there. Stay out of trouble. Thank you.
Yeah, you stay.
We are looking at the same thing here. We have firefighters all up and down the main street here, firefighters at every building as we drive down the street, headed out of town in any direction. Every house that's still standing has firefighters beside it, and they are ready to take up the fight. In fact, Victor and I found 2 firefighters today who were standing trying to put out a small fire with a garden hose from one house to try to save the property around that house, so they're working very hard. There's been a complete evacuation. This town is pretty much a ghost town. Nothing but firefighters and media here tonight. There are a few hardy souls that have stuck around. One of them is V. Lumpkin. She writes for the local newspaper. She was told to evacuate, and she didn't get very far. She spent the night at a neighbor's house near here.
I thought I would sleep in my car on their property, which I did, kind of end of the road. It was private off the highway. But I spent most of the night just watching the flames leap up and moving, and it seemed like it was getting closer and closer.
Why didn't you leave?
Why did I leave?
Why didn't you leave?
Where could I go?
Well, she had to stay. She didn't get out of town. She stayed here. She still doesn't know about her house. It's about 2 miles south of town. She has lived there for the last 28 years, and she has lots of memories, she says, in that house, lots of letters from family, and she is just hoping that those things and that her house are there when she gets back. There are a lot of people who aren't going to find that around here. Hundreds of houses were destroyed in this area overnight last night. Today, the firefighters were protecting most of them, at least the ones in the near neighborhoods that we could see here within a few miles of town in any direction. There were firefighters there, and there were an awful lot of houses still standing with scorched earth all the way around them. It's amazing to see that. Good news from, at least from Julian tonight. Back to you, Dave and Paula.
Thanks, Gary. Well, now to recap the fires burning across Southern California. At this point, 20 people, including one firefighter, are confirmed dead. At least 1,800 homes have been destroyed. More than 600,000 acres are charred. Mandatory evacuations are in effect for numerous communities throughout Southern California, and health officials in Las Vegas are urging people to stay inside because of the heavy smoke that has now moved into our valley.
Here now some of the stories we're working on for Eyewitness News Live at 11. California wildfires continuing to rage, taking out homes and lives in its path. We will have live team coverage, including that from Gary Waddell, who is stationed near San Diego tonight. And a second painting stolen from a local gallery has now been recovered. Those stories and all your late-breaking news coming up tonight at 11.
Let's go back out to Polly Gonzalez with the donations from our Community Pride partners. Polly.
Paula and Dave, the donations continue to stream in. We've received a lot of things that are going to help the folks out there in Southern California, and you can see our volunteers continue to pack things up. They're going to continue to load the trucks. I think this truck here is pretty much loaded up, and we'll be loading up one more. Well, all of this effort is on behalf of our Community Pride sponsors and their California disaster relief effort. Now, I want to make sure we thank as many people as possible, like this huge donation that we received earlier today, and also the individuals out there, like one man who once lived in Southern California.
Well, I grew up in Southern California, and I know the area, and there's a lot of people there that don't have a lot, and it's burning up like crazy. That everybody who comes from Southern California usually, or from Las Vegas, comes from Southern California, and that's the least we could do.
Just want to remind you folks out there, that's one reason a man out there in our community decided to donate. And whatever your story, we will be out here until this Friday collecting. We're at 3228 Channel 8 Drive. We're between Convention Center and DI. We are just east of the Strip, and a complete list of the items that are needed down south are on our website at KLAS-TV. I want to thank the United Way volunteers. Also want to thank Enterprise, Budget Truck Rentals, and the Salvation Army for one of their trucks. Also want to leave you with one thing, Dave and Paula. When all of these items arrive in Southern California, one of our viewers out there is hoping that the folks out there will see this sign, reminding them that our thoughts are with the folks in Southern California who many have lost everything. Thanks a lot, and we'll send it back to you.
That's a nice thought. Thank you, Polly.
It's great to see you. That's it for Channel 8 Eyewitness News Live at 6. Entertainment Tonight is next.
Back at 11, and Gary will have more live reports.
These are the people of Channel 8 Eyewitness News. This is the most experienced news team in Southern Nevada, with George Knapp covering the stories no one else can. Exclusive interviews and special reports from the area's most respected investigative reporter, George Knapp. Commitment, trust, experience. Channel 8 Eyewitness News, the news leader.